Alright, what's up, y'all? It's Crimson Prince here. And if you're wondering why I'm outside, just had a workout in. Can't really go to the gym right now, so once I work out, my mind's sharp, I'm ready to go, make a video. So today I'm gonna get right to the chase. We're gonna talk about that first presidential debate, President Trump and former Vice President Biden. Alright, this isn't gonna be a biased review of what it was. Keep in mind that debates are really meant to sway the undecided voters. So we're going to basically talk about the strategies of each person going into it, how they performed, things that could have been done better, things that really stood out, and sort of go over topics that really stood out in this debate. So first and foremost, we got to think about, how do we actually define who won the debate? Well, really, there is no set way. You got to keep in mind it's whatever sways each individual voter. However, if I had to pick objectively who won this debate, I think it's clear that Trump won this debate. I think Joe Biden had good moments, and I think Joe Biden exceeded expectations, really, for a lot of people. He exceeded my expectations. I thought he would fold like a lawn chair, to be honest with you, probably in the first hour. But he held up. But again, he just didn't provide enough substance with his policies. Again, through his whole campaign, if you really want to call it a campaign, it's been pretty much Trump this, Trump that, and that's pretty much, it's too late to really introduce new policies and explain them in a debate setting, so that's really all they had going for them, the Democrats, when they were prepping him. He probably prepped in his basement extensively for this very moment. But yeah, I do think Trump won. I think he had a lot of good attacks on Biden, especially he had a good start to the debate in particular. I just think Trump had a lot of opportunities to really land some heavy blows on Biden, and he just didn't take them. Simply did not take them. So I think his performance was decent. It was okay. It wasn't a great performance by any means by Trump. And for Joe Biden, I think it was meh. What else can you really expect him? You can't really expect him to outperform that, in my opinion. But yeah, as far as expectations for Trump, I think I expected Trump to have a more clear victory, a more resounding victory. There were a lot of moments in this debate where Biden really set Trump up for some good counters in there. I think the Supreme Court, the very first topic, Trump pretty much took Biden to school there. I thought it was a great start for Trump. He was on point. He countered effectively. Probably the main strategy, however, that I have to call into question on Trump's part is, interrupting Chris Wallace, the moderator, very early. He did it quite frequently. And, in all honesty, I do agree Chris Wallace is biased. He was clearly biased in this debate. And I think Chris Wallace stuck his beak in when he didn't need to stick his beak in, really. He's a moderator. He's not someone who's should introduce opinions as the debate's going. I remember Trump went on a little, he was talking over Chris Wallace, not really able to finish his points, and Chris Wallace should have had this little jab, and Joe Biden said, well, I don't know if we're going to be able to stop this guy's ranting in reference to Trump. And then Chris Wallace said, well, I'm having a hard time following myself. You can't be doing that as a moderator. That is inexcusable. You're there to moderate. Okay, you're not supposed to be interjecting your own opinions. I think Trump should have really went after him there. However, I do think when things started getting combative, I think Trump actually made things combative. He said a line where, I don't know if I'm debating you, when talking to Chris Wallace, when Chris Wallace interrupted him probably one of the first few times. So I think Trump should have really treaded with caution. But let's talk about the missed opportunities here. In particular, the coronavirus response. This is a big topic. I think it was one of the higher points for Biden, simply because Trump didn't really land any effective counters there. I think, in particular, when Joe Biden brought up those Woodward tapes, about, Trump knew how dangerous this disease was, didn't want to, cause a panic amongst the populace. Trump panicked. You, the American people, don't panic. He panicked, which I think is a load of bull. Right there, Trump should have really went after him. First of all, knowing what we know now about the coronavirus, is it really worth shutting down the economy prematurely, inciting violence in the streets? You'll have people thinking it's Armageddon out there. in February. A president's job is to not cause panic and to really gather information, learn more about the disease that China withheld from us because of their nature of their government and their highly centralized planning, so on and so forth. So for Joe Biden to actually make that type of decision, which he was implying he would make, to alert the American people and to shut things down early, and then in hindsight, looking back on such a decision like that, our economy could be tanked. We'd have shut the economy down ahead of the curve, and something that would be much harder to recover from, and would have looked really foolish if someone like Joe Biden made that type of decision. That was an emotional decision. Trump should have really said that. I think his debate team should have prepped him for that, because that would have been a terrible decision on Biden's part if he actually did what he suggested Trump should have done. Anyways, I do like the fact that Trump mentioned the 47 years. I knew that was going to be a line that he had to throw in there. The tax, pretty much a non-issue in my opinion. I don't think it's going to sway anybody in the middle about his tax returns. And Trump could have added something in there about, the tax code at the time was when people like you were in the Senate, Joe. So if you have anyone to blame, it's yourself for actually letting these tax loopholes, be exploited. And it wasn't really exploitation. He legally followed whatever tax code was in place at the time. So anyways, I do think Biden stuck to his script very well. It's clear that he had a game plan, stuck to his game plan. On the fly, he wasn't all there. He had some pot shots like, "Oh, you clown, shut up, man, worst president." I mean, doesn't really mean much, man. I don't see it meaning much, but he did hold his own. He didn't crumble. I do think Biden's one of his standout points was talking about how the economic recovery during him and Obama's administration after the big economic crash of 2008, he was able to help a recovering economy and to and basically set the platform for Trump to claim credit for the economy that he had, right? Again, that was good. It's good for the independents out there to hear something like that. They have a little more confidence because a lot of them do vote with their pocket. But yeah, man, I think coronavirus, I'd have to edge it to Biden. I mean, coronavirus is always going to be a little low point for Trump anyway, going into the debate. But again, missed opportunities there. In terms of law and order, again, Biden had nothing there in terms of the law and order topic. Trump really he went after him. You have to go after him. You got the media talking about fucking plane, sorry. You got the media, talking about, Trump is being a bullying, Joe Biden, not having anything of substance really, basically throwing low blows, and I think that's bullshit. They've been throwing low blows at Trump for the past 4 years, and you got to fight fire with fire at this point in the game. So yeah, went after him on Moscow, and basically said what he had to do. You got to play dirty there, and I have no problem with it. I think it's great that Trump did that. Could have went after him harder, to be honest with you. He could have talked more about systemic democratic governance over municipalities in the inner cities. For example, Chicago, LA, Baltimore. Basically, all Joe's done and people part of the Democratic establishment really, whispering sweet nothings into their ear, promising them handouts, and nothing's really changed. As long as they got a Democrat in power, that's all they want. They don't really care about uplifting those minority communities. And Trump should have really reverted to the economy in that regard. For example, the self-employment tax, cutting that down, allowing minorities to start their own small businesses, employing people within their own community, allowing people having access to higher education. And then he could have thrown an example, increased fundings for HBCUs and so on and so forth. Not to mention the rioting that's also affecting minority communities. So again, some missed opportunities there on Trump's part. I think that could have definitely really gotten the attention of a lot of minority voters who are already shifting to Trump more so in this election than the last election. And another big topic, mail-in voting. I do agree with Trump's point about the concerns. I think Trump could have cited specific examples, especially recently in Minnesota. He could have, egged on the American people to look into these issues. For example, the ballots with Trump's name on them found in a ditch. DOJ is now investigating. I think they're investigating. Don't quote me on that. And yeah, you see what's going on with Ilhan Omar and what's happening in Minnesota? These things can swing states like Pennsylvania, can swing states like Florida, like North Carolina. It's a huge concern, and it might be too late. Sad to say, it might be too late. You have a lot of mail-in voting already, taking place. So that's that. Overall, I do think Joe Biden held up, and for his campaign, I think they can take it away as a positive that he didn't crumble. And it's sad to say that the bar is really low. That's the candidate that the DNC is propping up. I think actually Trump could have really appealed to the far left in this debate, believe it or not. He sort of said, Biden, Joe, you lost the far left. He could have said, straight up, look, the DNC threw probably their only honest candidate, Bernie Sanders, under the bus, and he propped you up, and this is the best they could offer: a fraud, someone who's an establishment politician, a career politician that's been there for 47 years, and now we expect him to do what he's telling us he'll do right now? No. And I think a lot of Bernie voters who, I think according to H.A. Goodman, about 20% of them are going to be voting for Trump. I'm not sure, 15-20%. That number could have been increased right there, and he has opportunities to do that in the next two debates as well. Also keep in mind that the incumbent generally does a little less. He has a slight disadvantage in the first debate. He's got to be a president, right? Joe's basically been in his basement past 3-4 months. So what can you really expect, right? But overall, I think going to these next two debates, I do think Trump has a lot of opportunities to capitalize on Joe's mistakes, and there's a lot of them. Believe me, there's a lot of things he can capitalize on. I really wish he would have done it in the first debate. And Joe's got to introduce more of his policies to really make an appeal to the American public instead of orange man bad. But what can you say at this point, right? It's all they got going for him. So I don't think the metrics of this race really change too much. I think people are going to be looking into the next two debates. I think the moderation in this debate was pretty poor. Chris Wallace should be ashamed of himself. I think it was a poor performance. I think a lot of people are going to be seeing that. And the last topic is that wire. The wire. And that's why I waited for this. Made this delayed response. I think it's fishy. That does not look like a shirt crease to me. I can't say for sure what it was because you saw the thing on his shirt. If they said it was a shirt crease, then what's that thing on his sleeve? You can find videos of it wherever. I don't know if it was a pen or what, but that needs to be looked into. I think it is a point of concern. I think everything needs to be fully transparent to the public, with these things, right? But yeah, so overall in conclusion, I do think Joe Biden had a solid outing in terms of his, when you considering expectations. I didn't think he shot himself in the foot here at all. I think Trump got the victory, but again, I think he should walk away with this knowing that he had a lot of chances to capitalize. And I think he could have gotten a momentum boost from this debate that really won't be there. It's tough to say that. But it is what it is. It's got to be objective. So yeah, and if you're a Democrat, I think you really got to target specific policies. You can't just say the negatives about Trump. You have to compare and contrast your policies with Trump's policies. And you really need to clarify, a lot of positions that people are concerned about, changing, having the incumbent potentially leave the office, and things like that. So it's tricky, man. It's tricky. But yeah, I think Trump has a lot more opportunity to improve, and Joe's just got to not shoot himself in the foot, pretty much. Last thing, with regards to the Charlottesville, I think it's absolutely disgusting that they're perpetuating that lie. I think Trump should have went after him. He should have demanded an apology on the spot. on the spot. He clearly condemned those groups that they were referring to, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, in the same press conference. They just selectively edited the clip and played it on the mainstream media. I mean, if I were Trump, I would go off, man. If someone was, claiming those things about me, I would go off. No holds barred. I'm glad he brought up Hunter Biden. I'm glad he brought up all those shady dealings that, I would bring up the thing with the kids, you know what I'm saying? Anything at that point. If you're going to perpetuate lies like that on a national TV, it's not going to fly. It's not going to fly. Should have called him out right then and there. But yeah, man, interesting stuff. A lot to look forward to in these next two debates. I think Trump's approval is around 46% in the aggregate. I don't anticipate much change from either side, really. We'll just have to see. But again, the first debate isn't everything. There's 2 more to go. Just looking forward to it, man. Entertaining stuff. Entertaining stuff, for sure. That's it from the Crimson Prince. See you in the next one.